Welcome to Breaking Wire. Please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon for more updates. Imagine a single, narrow hallway in a massive building, one that connects every vital room. If it's blocked, everything stops. That's the Strait of Hormuz for the world economy. This 21-mile-wide waterway is the world's most critical energy choke point, bordered by Iran and Oman. Every day, over 20 million barrels of oil, about a fifth of global consumption, pass through here, fueling economies across continents. China, India, Japan, and South Korea rely on this flow. Disruption would send shockwaves through global markets. The strait's proximity to Iran makes it a flashpoint. Tensions can escalate quickly with global consequences. US and Iranian forces keep watch, knowing a single incident could spiral out of control. The Strait of Hormuz is the fragile artery of modern civilization, a reminder of how much depends on just a few miles of open sea. The summer of 2025 erupted with violence few expected. Tensions that had simmered for years suddenly boiled over, catching the world off guard. In a region already fraught with suspicion and rivalry, the smallest spark was enough to ignite a firestorm. On June 13th, an Israeli missile strike hit deep inside Iran, shattering the uneasy peace. The attack targeted a military facility near Isfahan, sending shockwaves through the region and beyond. Sirens wailed as emergency crews rushed to the scene, and the world watched in disbelief as the fragile balance was destroyed in a single night. Days later, the United States launched airstrikes on 3 Iranian nuclear sites, escalating the crisis to a new level. The bombings were precise, but the message was unmistakable. The stakes had changed. Plumes of smoke rose over the Iranian landscape, and the international community braced for what would come next. Iran's response was swift. A missile barrage struck a US base in Qatar, pushing both nations to the brink of war. The attack left the base smoldering and military personnel scrambling for cover. The world's most powerful militaries now stood face to face, each move shadowed by the threat of all-out conflict. Each attack risked igniting a wider conflict, with global leaders urging restraint. Emergency meetings were called at the United Nations, and anxious diplomats worked around the clock to prevent catastrophe. Military analysts warned that the situation could spiral out of control at any moment. The real fear, shared by governments and markets alike, was that violence would spill into the Strait of Hormuz, threatening the world's energy supply. Oil prices surged as tankers raced to escape the danger zone, and shipping companies braced for the worst. The Gulf, once a highway for trade, now felt like a tinderbox. Patrol boats and warships crowded the waters, their crews on edge, as the threat of a naval clash loomed over every passing hour. For sailors, soldiers, and civilians, the threat was immediate and real. Families huddled in shelters, while military personnel remained on constant alert, knowing that a single miscalculation could change everything in an instant. The region's transformation from tension to open conflict was sudden and dangerous. Streets that had been bustling with life now echoed with uncertainty, and convoys rolled through cities at dawn, a stark reminder of how quickly peace can unravel. The world held its breath, knowing the next move could set the globe ablaze. In capitals from Washington to Beijing, leaders watched events unfold, aware that every decision carried consequences far beyond the Gulf. The stakes had never been higher. The fate of millions and the stability of the world hung in the balance as the Gulf crisis threatened to reshape the future. After the US strikes, the world held its breath. The tension in the region was palpable, with every nation watching for Iran's next move. The US Navy's show of force was meant to deter further escalation, but it also risked provoking a dangerous response. American intelligence soon uncovered Iran's most alarming move yet, preparing to mine the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most critical oil choke point. Analysts pored over satellite images and intercepted communications, piecing together a picture of a rapidly escalating threat. The evidence was clear. Satellite images showed Iranian forces loading naval mines onto fast boats, ready to turn the narrow strait into a deadly gauntlet for any ship daring to pass through. The operation was swift, methodical, and unmistakably hostile. Naval mines are cheap, hard to detect, and can halt shipping with just the threat of their presence. Even a handful hidden beneath the waves could paralyze the flow of oil and goods. Their silent menace is enough to make even the most powerful navies hesitate. The psychological impact alone could freeze global trade. Ship captains, faced with the invisible danger lurking below, might refuse to sail. Insurance rates would skyrocket, and ports could grind to a halt as vessels wait for the all-clear. Iran's arsenal, Thousands of mines, submarines, drones, and anti-ship missiles meant it didn't need to win a naval battle, just make the strait too dangerous for commerce. The mere threat of these weapons could achieve what a fleet of warships could not: economic chaos. The world's leaders understood, if the strait was mined, an instant energy crisis would erupt. Oil prices would soar overnight, supply chains would snap, and the ripple effects would be felt in every corner of the globe. Economies, especially in Asia, which relies heavily on Gulf oil, would reel from the shock. Factories could slow or stop, and millions of jobs would hang in the balance. The mere possibility of mines sent shockwaves through global markets. Investors panicked, stock prices tumbled, and uncertainty spread faster than any physical blockade. Iran was holding the world's economy hostage, its finger on the trigger, knowing that even the threat of disruption gave it enormous leverage over its adversaries. The threat was no longer theoretical, it was imminent. Naval patrols scrambled to scan the waters, and divers risked their lives searching for hidden explosives. The Strait of Hormuz had become a sea of floating threats, a vast invisible minefield that could ignite a global crisis at any moment. As the world braced for the fallout, uncertainty and fear rippled across continents. The next move could change the course of history. The US couldn't stand by as Iran prepared to mine the strait. The Navy's Fifth Fleet surged into action, deploying advanced mine-hunting ships and moving assets to safety before the strikes. Aircraft carriers and destroyers formed a protective shield, patrolling the vital waterway. The message was clear: the US would keep the strait open, no matter the cost. A robust diplomatic campaign reassured markets and allies. The US strategy combined military might with public resolve, projecting confidence to the world. The Navy became the guardian of global commerce, standing watch at the Gulf's entrance. The world's energy artery would not be severed on America's watch. Inside Iran, leaders faced a stark choice: retaliate or restrain. Hardliners pushed for closing the strait, seeing it as ultimate leverage. But pragmatists knew such a move would cripple Iran's own economy, cutting off vital oil exports. China, Iran's key partner, quietly urged caution, fearing a global energy shock. The parliamentary vote to blockade the strait was symbolic, not binding. Iran's actions were brinkmanship, showing strength without crossing the line into self-destruction. The Strait of Hormuz was both Iran's greatest weapon and its greatest risk. As tensions soared, global markets trembled. The threat to the Strait of Hormuz sent oil prices on a roller coaster. Surprisingly, after the US response, prices fell. Traders bet the strait would stay open, at least for now. The US Navy's presence calmed nerves, but the underlying risk remained. For Asia's economies, a closure would mean fuel shortages and unrest. Even the US, now a major energy producer, would feel the shock. The episode revealed how much markets run on perception and fear. The world economy passed this stress test, but only just. The risk of disaster still lurked beneath the surface. The summer of 2025 proved just how fragile global stability really is. The crisis of 2025 nearly plunged the world into chaos over a narrow stretch of water. Military might kept the strait open, but true security remains elusive. For Iran, the strait is leverage. For the world, it's a lifeline. The lesson is clear. Lasting peace requires dialogue, not just deterrence. The Strait of Hormuz is a global commons. Its safety is everyone's responsibility. The hope is that future crises will be met with cooperation, not conflict. The calm waters should symbolize unity, not division. In our interconnected world, the fate of one nation is tied to all.